Welcome back to the Muslim Street at WTAN in lovely Clearwater, Florida. You can reach us locally at 727-441-3000. Toll free all over the country at 866-826-1340. We're in the Muslim Street with Yahsmin, Mayaan, Binti, BoBo. Yahsmin, we got a question in from Facebook. The Facebook audience has a question for you. I want to talk about. Question is, hip-hop started with turntables, but other instruments developed over the years. Can you talk a little bit about some of the different types of, musical beats that are just kind of flowing in and out of hip-hop, and also the different kind of styles? Because I would and I think that you would agree that if we talk about Russell Simmons and his project of Def Poetry Jam, that would be part of hip-hop. People like Mos Def and et cetera.
Sure. I think in terms of the actual instrumentation or the composition of the music and how it's being produced, actually probably the producers don't get as much hype as the actual MC does, which is kind of unfortunate because it did start the other way around where it was the turntablist and the MC was just there to hype that particular musician who's behind the tables and doing their thing and tearing it up in that way. And then it ended up being a good, solid relationship, and the MC eventually gets a little bit more attention than the DJ does. But overall, in terms of production, I think it really depends on now where you're from, the region that you're from, the region that you're representing, and what kind of musical sounds the locals identify with and like. So, I'm from the Bay Area. We have a certain kind of tempo, and you know what I mean? There's a certain style associated with, hip-hop that comes from the Bay Area. L.A. has its own style. So if you listen to these individual artists, you'll kind of get a feel for what sounds their fans and their audience like. I like stuff that comes from the Deep South, honestly.
Really? Can you name a few artists? That you like
well, there's a Muslim artist from Georgia, from Athens, Georgia. His name is Issues. Mm-hmm. I really enjoy his production, but I also enjoy his lyricism as well. So whoever's producing his music is amazing. Mm. They definitely know how to tap into a contemporary audience and then match that with his style and his delivery. And it's an amazing combination. If you guys have a chance to look him up, his name is Issues. It's spelled Ishues, and he's coming from Athens, Georgia.
That's one other thing I love about hip hop. Right from its inception, all these colorful names. I'm so and so. I'm this. I'm that. It's like KRS-One talked about in one of his rap songs. This individual Brandon, Ice Cube, Ice-T, Tupac. It was just amazing, some of the beautiful names that Queen Latifah talked about, how she got her name when she was a little girl from her aunt who was Muslim.
Yassine Bey, the newest out there right now.
Exactly, beautiful name. So these poor righteous teachers, and it's just amazing, this type of branding. And as we talk about the mainstreaming of hip-hop, first, Laila talked earlier about how initially they were viewed as outside of the mainstream, sort of antisocial. And now you look up, you turn on a Coca-Cola commercial, a Pepsi commercial, or something else, you might see Ice Cube, you might see KRS-One, Dr. Dre, with his headphones being sold all over corporate America, being sponsored by corporate America. So it's just kind of interesting that the mainstreaming of what was these quote-unquote antisocial activists now being corporately sponsored.
Or even to bring up an example that you've noted a few times, Public Enemy, and the fact that Chuck D is still an activist and motivational speaker and MC, but his counterpart, his hype man, Flava Flav, has gone, and taken a different route in terms of how he's pimping, commercial, his opportunity. He's definitely taken a different route with reality TV and whatnot. But here's the thing: within the genre of hip hop and rap music, there is like an ageism going on. Mm-hmm. There is a discrimination going on. The older you get within the rap game, the less marketability you have or the less clout you have with the youth.
Right.
is you understand that your demographic, your target audience is the youth.
Right.
And so we do have kind of a stigma that we're not talking about as much, but we do have a stigma with the aging MC. And so when you see Snoop and Ice Cube and Ice-T, they're businessmen now.
Yeah.
They're not just
They've
MCs.
reinvented
Yasmin,
themselves.
what would you say about the influence of their legacy? I mean, of course, there is this generational difference and gap that's developing, but I would say that there's a legacy there as well.
Absolutely. I mean, especially in the case of Ice Cube, because NWA was such a pivotal group, especially for West Coast music. And it's often associated with, like, the birth of so-called gangster rap. But NWA, you know, I'm from here, and NWA had an important part of shaping our consciousness as youth. You know what I mean? Like,
definitely,
especially with police brutality, especially with poverty, especially with drugs, especially with corruption among public officials and you know, people who are supposed to serve the community. So they called a lot of these things to our attention and put them into a context, and then put it on BET, and then put it on MTV. And to do that was a very powerful and brave thing. So even though they were, you know, associated with so-called gangster rap, they helped us contextualize the things that were going on in our neighborhoods.
Yeah, and we had a Facebook question that came in from Abbott. He wants to ask you, and I think you're kind of talking about that, how hip-hop changed when it moved from the East Coast to the West Coast.
You know, I don't know that it changed so much. It's just a different group of people, you know what I mean, with a different story to tell, a different dance form to get down with, a different public art to display, just a different style. I don't know that it changed that much. Maybe the sound did, because regional, you know, different regions, we are going to have our own signature sound. Just with any human beings, when you're moving from one territory to another, it's going to change slightly. So it just depends on your ear, what you like. I like you know, to take a little bit from everything. I like the buffet. You know what I mean? I like music. Yeah. I like music, hip hop music that I don't even understand or speak the language. But if I like the delivery of the MC or the vocals and the production, I'm going to listen to it. You know what I mean? So it's we're creatures of sound. It's what you really relate to, what catches your ear.
That's what's so powerful about hip-hop, is that although it did start in the East, in the Northeast, and that's where the powerful movement and the energy came from, hip-hop kind of has proved itself as something that transcends its original culture.
Yeah.
And although it was able to transcend its original culture, it did so in an empowering way. It localized issues for communities. It empowered groups, empowered the youth. It gave disenfranchised minorities that voice to kind of express themselves in this very artistic and multifaceted way that Yasmin is saying to us. You know, Yasmin makes a very good point. Hip-hop is not about the lyrics or just the music. It's the style, it's the production, it's the display, it's the lights, it's the sounds, it's everything coming together. It's really a beautiful, empowering channel, and I think that's one thing to definitely note as hip hop traveled from the East to the West to North Africa to Europe to the South, and that's what we're seeing, is that hip hop is hip hop. It's a uniting thing. It brings cultures and people together, but it localizes issues as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, so Yasmin, as we talk about the globalization of hip-hop and kind of incongruent with the mainstreaming of some of the original artists, you know, we talked about the you know, Dr. Dre and his headphones. We got Luke, you know, running for office down in Miami.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Is that what he's up to these days?
Yeah, that's what he's up to. You know, and it's just amazing, you know, Ice-T doing, you know, mainstream TV. These people have truly reinvented themselves, and even, you know, the Mad Hatter himself, Flavor Flav, you know, he has one of the most popular reality shows, you know, and over the past few years, I mean, highly rated. So they have had an opportunity to reinvent themselves, but at the same time, I think that their body of work that they put together still remains, and they still remain true to that. Ice Cube has gotten into doing comedy, but we know that Ice Ice Cube was a serious artist, is a serious individual when it comes to his analysis on struggle. Ice-T, I've seen him in interviews off the cuff. He brings it real. And so I'm really fascinated how they were able to reinvent themselves.
Right, and Ice Cube is a family man. Like, he's a grown man.
Right.
You know, he has kids and a wife, and he's maintained that family. So we got to commend him for that.
Exactly.
Now he's more of an entertainer that has widened his scope to family entertainment and kid-friendly entertainment. There's nothing wrong with that. But like one artist who has really transcended and shown a lot of like personal growth, and it doesn't surprise me, but Mos Def, you guys mentioned him earlier, is an amazing artist all around. So he's not just a rapper. Like, that dude is an actor in Hollywood and does, like, fantastic films. And so, you know, people can't sleep on his talent, the endeavors that he's getting into. Amazing. We should be proud of him. Like, he's a performer overall. He's just, man.
Yeah, you mentioned something that just fascinated me, and that is the acting of these rappers. You go back to Boys in the Hood and Ice Cube and Boys in the Hood. I don't think he went to acting school. You talk about Queen Latifah. We talk about Ice-T, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, these are amazing actors. And, you know, they, I mean, the type of performance that they're able to bring is just incredible with no acting lessons whatsoever.
You're listening to The Muslim Street. We'll continue this part of the conversation right after a really quick break.